Hi, I'm Sherry and this is Gardening in the North, and today I want to show you how everything is growing in my grow room. So for those of you that are new to my channel, I live in Ontario, Canada, growing zone 5B, and my last frost date is May 7th. So I technically have 3 more weeks to go. However, having said that, I have never planted anything outside before that last frost date or even on that last frost date. And the reason for that is you can still have a bad frost 10 days after your last frost date. That is just the average date that they give you, and you really need to monitor the weather going forward after that date. Now, I will tell you that there have been years where I have planted a few days afterwards and just really monitored what the weather was going to be like and got lucky. There have been other times where not so lucky, and I'm running out there with sheets and bottles and jugs and anything and everything I can to possibly protect what I've planted out there. So as a gardener, those are some of the things that we constantly deal with every year. For those of you that don't know what your last frost date is, you can find this out by actually just typing in what is my last frost date and putting the location in which you live into your search engine. Any search engine will work. A lot of the times the Farmer's Almanac will come up, and that tends to be my favorite go-to site. They have a lot of information in there. So if you see that pop up, click on it and check out when you can be planting other things. It has a list of other varieties, vegetables, fruits, and everything like that. And they provide you dates on when you can do that in your area. So let's get started on the grow room tour. Okay, so let's start at the bottom here. I want to show you all of the zucchini and squash seedlings that are starting to pop up. I planted these 4 days ago, and you can see that everything is starting to push through. One thing I want to mention is you never want to pull off the seeds that are popping through the soil with your seedling. You want to let them fall off naturally. That way you don't rip the leaves. And so you can see in the back there that one of them still has it on. This one here with the dirt, it also has the seeds stuck to it still. And I'm just going to leave them like that and let them fall off naturally as the seedling grows. Okay, so up here on shelf number 2, again, we have some watermelon, we have some okra. The okra is growing really well. And again, it has the seeds on them. Now, those seeds are a little bit smaller. They're not as big as the melon and the squash seeds. And sometimes I will lick my fingers and just rub it on the seeds. And sometimes they'll come off, but those ones are on there pretty good. Now, in these bags here, I'm going to hold it up and see. Oh, I think you can see it. Look at all the roots that are growing on these black bean seeds. So I definitely have to start potting them. And then let's see on the second bag here. I don't see too much germination on these ones. And then we have asparagus and turmeric, which is going really good. Up on tray number 3, we have some walking stick kale, we have tomatoes, we have celery that is going bonkers right now. And then we have our Sugar Rush cream peppers. Now these peppers are a little bit behind the rest of my peppers. I had originally planted some seeds that I had received in a seed exchange that didn't germinate, so I had to get some seeds elsewhere, so they're a little bit behind. And so up on the top shelf, I have dragon fruit. Look at how cool that looks. Now, I probably won't get any dragon fruit from it, but what a cool looking plant. And then I have all of these jalapenos up here that are starting to touch the lights, which brings me over to the storage unit shelf. Okay, so for the storage shelf, I just want to give you a quick look down the center. I want you to see how crazy everything is looking in there. The tomato plants have gone bonkers. I have peppers that need to be pruned heavily. And so for those of you that don't use that terminology, you can also top your peppers. It's the same thing as pruning them. And so I just want to bend down a little bit to give you a really good idea of what is going on with my tomato plants. So the stars have aligned for me, and I planted those tomato plants at regularly scheduled date that I do every single year, except that I had a really high germination rate, as well as they all popped up super fast. And so now I've had to move them so that they're on either side of the light, so they're not getting a ton of light right now, to kind of slow down a bit of the growing process, because I still have a good 3.5 weeks before I can even think about putting these guys outside. So let's look a little bit closer here. I have some celery and spicy basil over here. We have some dinosaur kale. We have some lettuces. Now take a look at these pepper plants. How amazing do they look? They're growing so healthy. And we'll just pull this one out. This one's really tall. And this is a shishito. Okay. I'm going to be doing a video on how to top or prune your pepper plants, but I really wanted to show you what happens when you do. Can you see all of that new growth that you get? So what I've done is I have literally cut the top of this pepper plant off, and all those new leaves are now growing back, or not growing back, but growing in. Here's another look at some of my tomato plants, literally bending at the top there as they touch that shelf. And so we have some, let me see here, Brussels sprouts. And we have some sorrel, which is a perennial lettuce. Then we have some Thai basil. We have some cabbage. Let me just see back here. We have some pineapple ground cherries. What's in here? Oh, we have eggplants, more celery, tomatoes in the back. Okay, we have Russian kale, some more peppers, a lot more tomato plants, and they are drooping a bit. They do need to get some water, but I wanted to wait until I carried them upstairs. And then I have all these pepper plants that need to be pruned today. I need to make sure that the energy is going to making them bushier as opposed to producing flowers like they are. Okay, and then in here we have cinnamon basil, and we have more red Reuben basil. We have bok choy bunch of bok choys because I just love that. We have mustard in the back. Everything is growing like bonkers. I'll just give you a view from far away just to kind of get an idea of what is going on in here. I'm sure I'm not the only one out there where the stars have aligned perfectly and everything has gone according to plan for your tomato plants. Last year, nothing went right for me, and in the end, I ended up with roughly 140 tomato plants that I couldn't even plant outside until the first weekend of June because they weren't big enough. Now, this year, I have roughly 90 plants and they're out of control. So I'm going to have to try my best to slow down that growing process. I'm hoping that they don't get root bound. I'm also hoping that they don't grow any taller because I don't want them to be so tall that I can't plant them. Now, one of the ways that I am going to plant these tomato plants is I'm actually, instead of digging down as deep as I can, I'm going to dig down probably about 6 to 8 inches, but I'm going to do it widthwise. So I'll take that plant and I'll just slightly bend the stem of it, plant it in the ground, and it will grow an amazingly strong and supportive root system to support how tall that plant will get. I hope you've enjoyed this grow room tour and check back to see how I'm doing with these tomato plants. Thanks for spending time with me.